right. And let's see if I can, there we go. Maybe. All right. So welcome on this cold and blustery Saturday to another little snippet of This Is Your Latin. Let's see, I am seeing the cold sky and I have a warm fire in front of me, so that's winning. And I hope you guys are also equally comfortable wherever you are. I'm doing this with jelly beans today. It has to be jelly beans, by the way. If they're not jelly belly, they're just not worth it. So that's my 2 cents bit of wisdom for you. But let me move those out of the way. Okay, so we stopped last time at 7:40. He had just lost his wife, trying to describe to us why it was okay that he had lost his wife, because of course it wasn't his fault. We do have here, so I'm just going to go through the next 4 lines for you, 741 to 744. And as always, I'm tell you guys, and do what you know first. So look for your verbs. And as always for verbs, you're looking for your OSTs, MUS, TISNT, aorist, Murminianter, etc. So hopefully you guys recognize the wedemos right here. It's also in Jammet. Okay. And then we have the Pfeffelet right here. And the Defuit right here. All right. There's a lot sort of going on here. And of course, there's going to be tumult and upset because, he lost his wife. Those are the conjugated verbs, but there's also a couple of infinitives in here. Actually, they're just regular verbs. I lied to you. They're not infinitives. It's the reflexi here and the respexi here. These are first person singular perfect. And how do you recognize that? Well, you see the X. Remember, V sucks, right? V's, S's, U's, and X's are frequently, what you expect when you think perfect. And of course, you have to remember your perfect endings. E, isti, it, right? Remember this? Imus, istis, erant. I think this I ending is perhaps, there you go, the hardest to recognize, because when you look at the respexi, you don't automatically think verb because we don't see the first person very often. But when you see an X followed by an I, hopefully something ding-dings in your head, because that is very, very likely going to be perfect. Okay. So there are our verbs, especially since we knew that we were going into first person, because Aeneas is now telling the story. This is, a type of rhetorical device where we switch into the first person narration to sort of pull the reader into the moment and have us go through the same tumultuous feelings that, of course, Aeneas is going through himself. Let's see. Animum way. I don't know if you guys know this, but that UE is actually a VE. Okay. And it means or. Okay. So just like the enclitic quay means and, the enclitic way, VE means or. And it again has to be just like the other quay, it has to go with in front of the word that it's attached to, and it does kind of act like a roadblock. Now, when I look at this respexi and this reflexi, and then I see the amisum and the aminum, I don't know about you guys, but that is clearly interlocked. It is also a little bit of sort of anaphora or alliteration. Look at that AM endings, 99% of the time is going to be accusative singular. Sorry, you guys are probably seeing that gross burn on my hand. That's what happens when you're a baker, though, right? You burn your hands. So misum here is going to be accusative, which tells me that odds are this animum, and it ends in um, it's going to be accusative too. Okay, so that's set up. You may not know this because this one's kind of difficult. This prius quam, and I don't know if your book, and I forgot to bring a copy of your book home with me, but I don't know if your book tells you that prius quam is actually what we call temesis. It's when he splits up two words, and prius quam is a frequent temesis. It's when it really should be together, not on separate lines, but one word, and it just means before. And it creates a sense of heightened anticipation. When you see the prius, it thinks first, but then you see the quam, and you're like, oh, wait, something else is going to happen. So the prius quam equals before, and you would actually hold off on translating, I think, until you get to the quam. All right, Let's keep going. Let's look at this. Well, I told you, you look for these links, you look for these patterns, you look for these connections, and look at this quay here is an enclitic quay. It's going to connect two things that are the same. Well, eventually, but in this case, because we have the sacratum here, and then the sedum here, I'm like, okay, so I bet the sedum, sacratum are going together. And then we have this tumultum. And that also ends in UM. And because we're sort of on this direct object kick, I would go ahead and mark that as a direct object. Okay. Remember, UMs, AMs, and EMs. AM is always accusative. I really, except for like a weird third that might be out there, AM is just going to be accusative singular. UM, you've got a 50-50 shot. Of course, it can be accusative singular. It can also be that neuter sometimes. But when you have these other accusatives and you've got these sort of connecting things going through, I would go, you know what? I bet we're going with accusative here. All right. Now we've got these last two right here. Okay. Carries. Now notice how the capital C is there, which tells us that this is a name. And even if you don't remember who Carries is, hopefully just the capitalization there is telling you, okay, it's a name. Now, if we were to scan the line, because you always, with the long IS, when you're not sure, you scan the line, and let's see what happens. Actually, you know what? I lied. You don't even have to do that for this. I'm sorry. Here's why. Because it has to be an IS, okay? It has to be a singular IS because it's a name. You don't have plural names. There's not a bunch of atoms running around. You can't say, oh, that's all the atoms. Like there's multiple. You can't just lump a group of people together because their name is the same. Or maybe you do, but you're not supposed to. It's just rude in poetry, okay? So especially because Carius is a goddess, so it has to be singular. So if you go through your chart in your head, you're going to know that the only IS that you can really get is in third, okay? You can get the IS of the genitive singular, okay? And that's what this is. This is genitive singular. In fact, if you see a name ending in IS, odds are it's genitive singular. Okay, now, when I look at that AE, you can't be, because AE can be a bunch of different things. It can be nominative plural, it can be dative or, oh my goodness, dative or genitive singular. But which one is the same as this IS? It's the genitive singular. So I'm going to put those two together. Okay, carrying on. Let's see. We're on 740. Okay. Moving. Okay, omnibus. Let's start with that. I need purple. Do I have purple? There you go. Omnibus. When I look at omnibus and IS, and especially because they're together, I'm looking at when can IS and omnibus be together, and it's either dative or ablative plural. Now, you guys know, how do you know if something's dative or if it's ablative? Well, if it's a person, it's dative. If it's a thing, it's ablative. And here, what we're just talking about, a collective whole, it's going to be ablative. It's not a specific person. Okay. Una, here, demum is just an adverb. Hic is just an adverb, so you can ignore those. Nec was just an adverb, as was prius quam, so you can ignore those. Una, though, is one, and notice how it ends in an A. It's a feminine one. And what feminine one have we been talking about? Well, the only feminine one that's been showing up is creusa. All right, so we're probably, especially when you get to the de fuit, someone was not there, one was not there. Well, the one person not there is creusa, and we need her to be the subject. Okay, and she's continuing. Look at the de fuit and the fefellet, just blocking off that line. Notice that we have the et, the quay, and the quay there. Again, just sort of pulling everything together, connecting everything, telling us that the subject una is going to be the subject of the de fuit and the fefellet, okay, because nothing else is happening. We can say virum is going to be accusative, natum is going to be accusative, and then the comites, es, which can be either accusative plural or nominative plural. Here has to be accusative plural, firstly because una, we have the subject, and secondly because the verb is also singular. Also, if you look at this, the quay and the quay connecting all the things together, they're going to connect all those accusatives together. Okay, so there you go. There are your markups for this one. This was relatively straightforward. One little tricky, I'm not sure it's a trick or if it's just a whatever it is. This collectus omnibus is actually an ablative absolute, okay? With the things having been done, you remember that? To a noun or a pronoun plus a participle, both in the ablative. In this case, he actually used omnibus as a substantive adjective. So omnibus, because it just is used substantively. A substantive adjective, by the way, is when you take an adjective and use it to represent the whole of something. So we'll say all of them are coming. Instead of we say all the students are coming, we just say all are coming. All is more of adjective there. And we don't have to say all the students, we just say everyone. And the Romans did the same thing. Omnibus means all things or everyone. In this case, it's being used substantively. The collectus omnibus with everything or everyone, in this case, having been collected together, one is missing. Okay, so there you go. There are the markups, and we'll do translation in the next one.